Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Broads. That was fun, wasn't it? Holy hell! That was a tremendous 3-day stretch for Howie Roseman. The trade to go get Swift. This is why you don't use your assets on a running back when you pick 10th in the draft. It is stupid. It is dumb. It is bad. It is awful. It's terrible. It's not the way you're supposed to build your football team. Why? Because there's other ways to snag a player or a grouping of players like Penny, like Swift, like Gainwell, like Boston Scott. Look at the cap. Look at how much money the Eagles are utilizing in the running back room. Not a lot. But look at the talent that's on this team in that position. It's a lot. So they give up a 2025 fourth-round pick. Guess what? Howie Roseman gets that pick back. This is simple. It's a no-brainer. This is the way you're supposed to attack. Now, one of the shows over the weekend, I brought up towards the end how hungry Howie Roseman is to win another Super Bowl. And the way that you could tell he was bothered by how the final game went. He saw the roster he put together. He realized how well Jalen Hurts was playing. He saw the health of the team. After all those games and all those weeks, for them to still be available. It was right there at halftime. He was crushed when he spoke to the Philadelphia media for the first time after they lost. Devastated. And he was wearing it. It was extremely noticeable. These moves all confirm that. Not that I needed these moves to confirm it, but it's nonstop. He needs to get that second Lombardi. And he's walking circles around the entire league right now. Nobody can catch up. He's by far separated from the rest of the crew. Even Kansas City and all that. Kansas City is Pat Mahomes. I'm not knocking their general manager. I'm not knocking what Andy Reid does from a talent perspective. But what Howie Roseman just did, it could go down as a historic draft weekend. For some of the talent that he found later in the draft, Ringo in the fourth. Before seasons began, they were thinking that it's possible that he's a top pick. Some people in early, way too early mocks. Yes, it was the way too early mock version of it, so I'm sure there's a lot of players who you think at one point will be way better than they are, and guys slip or guys jump up. Some no-names become first-round talent. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff happens all the time. But he did play at Georgia, and he does have a tremendous amount of skill. You can coach him up. There's no pressure. He doesn't have to step in day one and be an outside corner and go up against number twos in this league that can scare you. That's not the case. Take your time. You're 20 years old. Learn behind Darius Slay and Bradbury. They're getting towards the end. They are hitting the back stretch of their careers. Once you see the three to start your age in the football world, okay, I got to realize I don't have that much time left. I hate to admit it, but that's how it goes. But let's say he can chill. He can soak it in. He can watch on the sidelines. He could study technique. You get to study Darius Slay. For someone who I know has a lot within his game, how much better can it get than someone you could take a slow approach with because on where you got that player? They always say when guys slip like this, well, the work ethic isn't very good. Get in this locker room and show me a dude that doesn't work the way they need to work. If there is someone like that, they don't last very long. Eventually, they snip it real quickly. They can snip that stuff out. That's what I love about this franchise. There's a lot of players that other teams can't take for one reason or another. They don't feel confident in their locker room to be able to hold people accountable. There's really nothing outside of egregious, terrible human being stuff that I can't look at and feel good about knowing that we shape you a certain way. Or it's the fact that the narrative's wrong, which unfortunately there's plenty of reasons why certain players slip and media members have agendas, or not only that, sometimes teams leak information because they want a player so badly, so they hope that the player falls down the board and then they can pounce when they see their name in range and possibly trade up. There's so many variables. I love what they did in the fourth. Very aggressive move by Howie, and Howie's ready to go. He wanted it so bad. Nightmares, I'm sure, of Jonathan Gannon. He's the type of guy that I feel will hold a grudge against Jonathan Gannon forever. And I love that, to be honest. Don't tell me they were trying to beg him to come back on his hands and knees. There's something going on with this JG thing. He's not speaking to the Arizona media anymore during the draft weekend. And apparently the way he took one of the people from the Eagles when he went to Arizona bothered Nick Sirianni because he didn't do it the right way. This guy's a shady dude. And the more and more you notice it, I'm just picturing Howie Roseman with a dartboard over at the NovaCare complex in his office and in Jeffrey Lurie's office, and they just take that dart and they throw it at the board, but the board is actually a picture of Jonathan Gannon's face. At least that's the picture that I portray. Whatever drives Howie, man, whatever it is, I hope it eats him alive forever, because these type of moves are outrageous. The way he got Swift, for the little amount you give up, the little amount you have to pay him, $177 million. And these guys will all work within rotation. So maybe there were other situations out there where he was being asked too much. Penny getting asked too much. Less carries. Here's Kenneth Gainwell. He gets a couple. Next series, you go to a different back. Next series, you go to a different back. Maybe it helps them prolong what happens every year when they become injured. Less wear and tear on the body, less reps over the long haul, keeps them upright. Penny scares me the most just because it seems like he can never stay healthy. But, man, when he does have the football in his hands, his numbers are solid. So are Swift's. He averages last year 5.5 yards per carry and 8.1 yards per reception. He's going to be a threat in the passing game, and that makes me so excited. That was something that got lost last year with Miles Sanders because he did have a tremendous year running the football. Remember, he didn't have any touchdowns the year before. You knew Nick Sirianni early in the season would want to kind of establish that and get that off the books, so he punches it in, and then he went on a nice run. I want to see Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts have the chance to work in another weapon in your passing game who can kill you, who has home run ability, who could take it to the house. And look, we saw it firsthand against the Lions. When he's on the field, he's dangerous. You have to be accountable on where he is, where he's lined up. This offense takes a whole nother leap when you have someone like Swift who can catch for real, though. Defenses are going to be confused. Brian Johnson, I'm sure, is licking his chops, thinking about some formations and some scheme and all of these outstanding players in the skill positions. And one thing I want to note on Jalen Hurts, because I hear this a lot, because he's getting paid and he got himself a fat contract, the Eagles have to do a better position of not putting him in harm's way. Yes and no. That's how I feel about that. Yes and no. Yes, you always want to protect your franchise quarterback. Things go south when you lose that guy. With that said, though, what makes Jalen Hurts special is what he did last season. Oh, make him a pocket passer. Keep him in the pocket. I don't want to see him lower his shoulder. I don't want to see him run. I don't want to see him get a first down and take an extra shot. I actually think Jalen Hurts is a very intelligent runner, and he knows when to get down. He knows when to slide. Sometimes he slides prematurely in a good way so he doesn't take that extra hit, and he gives up maybe 2 or 3 yards on a first down because he realizes it's better to not take the shot, and I'll live with trying to get 2 more yards on second down. We got a couple more cracks at it. I think that's best for my team and best for me. And then you just see a defender go up and do a little two-hand touch, and then you move on to the next play. But yeah, there's times where he's not afraid of contact, and he does, on third down, do everything in his power to get to the chains and to move them. I want him to keep the ball in his hands on some read options. I want him to take off and run for 12 yards. Pat Mahomes did it in the Super Bowl with one leg, with one ankle. Guys get hurt, is my point. Justin Herbert plays banged up. Pat Mahomes played banged up, literally with one ankle. This is how it goes. I'm not dialing it back. It's a physical game. Yes, you want to limit it. You don't want to be stupid. You don't want to take nonsense hits. But there's a lot of fair hits within the game that I thought Jalen Hurts did a great job of, and he does it well, better than he does it terribly. Like, not many times do I personally despise Jalen Hurts keeping the football and running with it. The last 2 years, though, there were missed games. And I think that's something that he should put stock into, which is finish out a season. 1 or 2 games throughout the regular season, that stuff happens. But, you got to be in that 15-16 range. Remember, last year they were in a golden position until he missed some time. And Gardner Minshew did well in one game, was probably the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the other game. And then Jalen Hurts had to come back for the final. And they handled their business, albeit the Giants were in a certain spot, and it is what it is. But I'm cool with Jalen staying Jalen. I demand it. Nick Sirianni said, we're going to ask him to do more, which is great. More. I don't want to take away from why he's so great. I don't want to. So some other picks. Stanford quarterback, big arm. Now he's a traditional pocket passer, which is funny that that's what they targeted in the draft. I don't really have an opinion on a camp arm, but I do find it funny because there's people around the league tweeting, the Eagles are so dominant right now, and they have built so well, that it's at the point where they can just casually snag some random quarterback in the 6th round from Stanford who's not going to do much just for a camp arm. That's where they're at. That's how confident they are in what they've done. And with so much young promise in a lot of premier positions, there's not much out there to do. They went defensive line in the 7th round from Texas. They did some undrafted stuff. Picked up a dude from Alabama who apparently didn't allow any touchdowns on a lot of passes in the college game. I'm not going to sell you that I know much about what we're going to get from the 7th rounder and the undrafted players. Every year there's someone, though, who steps up. Reed Blankenship, undrafted guy. TJ Edwards, undrafted guy. So I always monitor. I don't rule it out completely. I don't pretend like there's nothing. Jordan Mailata, 7th rounder. Took a real heavy shot on that one. Panned out. Who was the other guy? He didn't pan out, but, Casey Toohill. I don't know why the hell that just stood out to me. I don't know why Casey Toohill, for any sort of reason. Maybe the Stanford thing? The Stanford connection? I have no idea. Weird. Anyway. It's hard to even fathom what transpired. A lot of my buddies were asking me, because I had a party to attend on Saturday, Bros, what do you think, man? Howie's cooking. Yep. Your thoughts? He did so well. I felt as if praising him normally, saying he was really successful, does it a disservice. We have no idea what these players are going to be. But the process to land these players on paper is pretty unreal. The level of talent from Georgia, and Howie knows that everyone's making the jokes right now, and it's fine, it's fair. But he also said something that makes a lot of sense to me. Yes, we acknowledge that these people we're selecting played at a specific school. But if we're looking at our board, and our board tells us that this is who we would select next, why should we be discouraged because there's already been a couple of different ones already playing on that same team? That would be silly. Well, because I went to Georgia already, I can't go to Georgia again. Georgia is a powerhouse. Georgia has the players that are studs. They have the ones who perform the highest. There was a time, not too long ago, where this was the most concerning time of the year. With Joel Embiid, and this will tie together. With Joel Embiid, I remember thinking, the time Kawhi Leonard made that shot, and Joel was crying on the court while he was leaving, it seemed like a moment where Joel would look back at that changed him forever. He watched Kawhi's run and recognized, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to be. The Sixers need me like Kawhi with Toronto. And it was the first-hand experience of pain that directed him to a different spot in his career. Whether it changed the way that he worked in the summers, whether it changed his diet, the Shirley Temples, focusing way more on the conditioning. Because there were times where he was leaning over, huffing and puffing, hands on the knees. It's the third quarter. It's the end of the second quarter. There's a lot of basketball left to be played. I think all of that he recognized by failure. Howie went through Jalen Reagor. And if this is the payoff of those miserable picks, I'll take it any day of the week. Because it seemed like that changed his direction. Now he has a different outlook on the draft. From that moment, it's been night and day different. To a degree. They still love their trenches. They still value certain positions differently than others. And put more stock into winning in the ugly areas. That's been here since Andy Reid shifted it all. The other spots, though, you could see a clear change in the movement. And it's hard for me to not think that it was the way Howie was perceived and the way Howie heard the reaction of the Reagors, of Davion Taylor. They probably recognize that whatever we're using to make these decisions, whatever analytics and numbers and charts and watching certain things at pro days, whatever it is getting us not good enough football players. Davion Taylor was a linebacker who didn't play a lot of football because of his religion, and he had to skip games. What the hell is Davion Taylor? What the hell is Jalen Reagor? Whatever they thought they could go off of to make selections, we need to do it differently. Now it's Nakobe Dean. And all these players, too, going back to the whole Howie thing and because it's Georgia, they've all been selected lower than you would have thought. Maybe we could chalk more fun up. Maybe we could, I was going to say chalk it up too, or we could poke more fun at it. If there were more reaches, they got who with the 10th? They drafted a guy who was projected to go in the 5th, in the 2nd? Someone who a lot of people thought would be 6th rounder? They went in the 3rd? You can make the argument for these Georgiasmans that you're stunned you acquired them where you did for basically almost all of them, dating back to last year. Hard not to love it. Hard not to love it. All right. Howie Roseman's a genius. Let's take phone calls and talk more about Howie Roseman being a genius. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, bros? Yo, getting DeAndre Swift. Just when he thought the draft couldn't get any better, it gets better. Howie Roseman has had a phenomenal draft. He is making moves left and right. Honestly, this offense is going to be so explosive next year. You know, DeAndre Swift, if he's healthy, he's easily a top 10 running back. Some even have him as a top 5. Not only that, he's a great pass catcher, and he won't have to do it all by himself either. Wow, what an absolutely phenomenal move. And he only gave up a future 4th rounder. That is dirt cheap. Absolutely amazing move to top off an amazing draft. But let me know what you think, bros.
I think everything you said is beautiful. Maximizing value. Maximizing your assets. You might be tired of hearing me say that. There's a reason why I continue to bring it up, because that's how you have to run this thing. And you don't pick 10, a running back. You don't pick one of those at that position in the draft board when you can trade a future 4th in 2 years down the road with plenty of time to get it back. And looking at comp picks, there's so much here to it. When you can get Swift. Swift is good. Swift is tremendous. And he has an added layer to your offense. This is amazing. Wouldn't you rather have Jalen Carter and this than just Bijan Robinson? Serious question to all you Bijan supporters who wanted him so badly and called me a moron for ruling it out, even though I'm not. But you're entitled to your own opinion. How do you feel now? Do you see why you can't get caught up in your emotions? Do you see why you can't pretend like the vision when you close your eyes and predicting the offense with Bijan and seeing some Madden-like plays? Why that can't overpower the realness of building a roster? Allocating your assets right. You don't spend that much on a back. It's dumb. They're barely spending cash on the position. And I bet you a lot of teams would look at the Eagles' running back room and would trade with what they currently have. Seriously. And I'm even excited to see Kenny Gainwell. Right? You can chalk in. What is up with this chalk in thing? I have no idea. I'm an idiot. You can pencil in chalk. What am I, outside when I'm 4 years old with chalk on my driveway playing hopscotch? when you pencil in Boston Scott against the Giants, you're automatically writing down 2 touchdowns. You can go to your sports book right now and put it in, and it's a lock. You're welcome. Buy your wife or your husband something nice. Say it's on Broads. Buy your kids something for Christmas or for a random Tuesday. Say Broads sent you. But Kenny, with that confidence build and the boost that he got from what he did last season in the playoffs, he ran with a purpose. He ran tough. I'm excited to watch him build off of that from a personal level. Let's hear from our next call.
We killed this draft. Howie killed this draft. As an Eagle fan, we had the best 3 years NFL draft experience of any fan. 2021, 2022, and now this year. And it's not over because we can still add more free agents.
Well, Howie's not done. You know Howie's not done. Now, Devontae, when they landed Devontae, it was such an awesome feeling. The 2020, so my years are getting all confused. The 2021 draft for the Eagles was Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, Kenny Gainwell, and even Patrick Johnson was in the 7th round that season. Zach McPherson, but spells it with an E. I would assume maybe they thought they would have more from him at this point, but maybe I'm wrong. When you add veterans the way they did, I guess that pushes you down the pecking order. Last year, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean as your top 3 in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. Oh, yeah. It is not your J.J. Arcega-Whitesides anymore. Not that it matters, but I'll put my hand up. And since we're on the topic of drafts, the year they picked Derek Barnett with what he did at Tennessee and the bend, right? We always talk about the bend with Derek Barnett. I thought he was going to be a stud. I swung and missed on that one. I liked that pick. And I liked the Sidney Jones pick at the time, too. I was just hoping he could stay healthy. But yeah, I thought Derek Barnett would be more of a force on that line. Which brings me back to Nolan Smith. The knock on him was, you have Hassan Reddick. Why get Nolan Smith if you already have a player like Hassan Reddick? Excuse me? First off, are we acting as if having 2 Hassan Reddicks is bad? But they're smaller guys, bros. But they could be undersized and teams would take advantage. Teams are not taking advantage when you have this much throughout your defense. I think it's possible. Some players are raw, and some guys are going to have to step up. Jordan Davis, stepping up. Nakobe Dean, getting the real nod this year. There's a lot to it. But I think it's possible, as they grow, that this defense could be just as unreal as last year's. Maybe not sacks-wise, statistically speaking, but in regards to how difficult it is to play against them. It's almost impossible to have that level of production on the line again. And that's asking Jalen Carter to do what Javon Hargrave did, or a collective group of people pick up the slack and then do last year's numbers. It's just hard. It's hard. But I'm thinking if you're an offense and you realize this is what I'm going up against for the next 4 quarters, it'll be just as miserable, be just as harsh, overwhelming. I think it has the power to do that. So I don't know what the stats will say and what everything will break down like. I can't wait to see Desai, though. Especially because anything to get Jonathan Gannon's face out of my eyesight. And when he comes back to Philadelphia, I hope they annihilate him. Crush him into the dirt with boos. It's going to be great. It's going to be great television. and I'm jealous of anyone who goes there and sees it in person. It's a Ben Simmons type response. It's a warm welcome, Ben, wasn't it? Was that a warm welcome with your stupid Louis Vuitton bright-ass yellow shirt? You knew what you were doing, loser. Same with you, JG. Guy's a clown. And to think that we felt maybe there was something in him when he did that video in the G-Wagon. Fraud. Fraud!
Eagles overall draft grade, I'd have to give it an A, although I'm not one that grades drafts, but how anyone can look at this as anything short of a success would be a mystery to me. I mean, you got players not only in the first round, but later in the draft that should contribute. I mean, I even see a guy like Ringo stepping in and getting some playing time, and it's a great situation for him to learn behind Slay and Bradbury. Then you make the trade for DeAndre Swift, and it's like, look, A, you're motivated to come back home. B, Detroit, by drafting Gibbs in the first round, basically told you, we don't want you anymore. What motivates an athlete more than that? You know, I know he's injury prone, but in our, running back by committee system, it gives him a chance to stay, more healthy.
Yep, absolutely. I think all those points are very valid, and I feel the same exact way. I felt that way with Penny. More nervous without another back here, so getting Swift was very important. But with Penny, if Gainwell can keep a big jump going, and maybe he turns into something really awesome for you that maybe you didn't envision, right? Would that help him stay available? No, you add Swift, and it just gets that much easier for someone like Penny. And when Penny has the football in his hands, he's gross. So, look, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. You go offensive line from Bama, Tyler Steen. Excited to watch the physicality of what your safety can be. They did a damn good job of making us already want that Eagles season. No, we love Eagles, and it's our baby here in this city. So we're going to want it regardless. But we want it now, closer, because of what could be. And the NFC, not that it's the Eagles' fault, is weak. There's no Mahomes. There's no Herbert. There's no Burrow. There's no Lamar. The separation between what the Eagles have right now and the rest of the NFC, they're in a good position. And they're not slowing down. Not at all. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Been a lot of Eagles. It's been fun. You guys are the best. Love you. Talk to you later.